If like say we don't get hope again. APC supporters don't they do prayers for our economy. He's no longer he's a master strategist. All the things where they tell them during the election. now they hide this year. After the election, APC people they shout, "Don't worry, we will shock you people." now then they shock with electrode. Then they even the kabash on top the picture. That is God. We don't have hope again. This fight is between us and the obedient. If we don't succeed, what will become of us?
Wash and cup of tea. You went to preach.
They will laugh at us and say, "We told you." But not be lying now, we told you. During the campaign, people they shout, "Share statistics will go chop." Now the need for statistics don't happen. They enter prayers. This now what did they call abortion before pregnancy?
Nobody is not there eventually.
This is done they touch everybody now one by one. He even touch APC senator. When we they complain about judiciary, they tell us say go and sit down. Now Senator they tell us say, "I beg Nigerians, can you keep your eye on judiciary for me?" Their judgment is not fair. Now this one Peter B go look for it, go tell you say, "The society you refuse to trade today will come against you tomorrow." Because you cannot come through the window and start cleaning the house. Mamma mia!
It is in order. Now, the issue of certificates has a very important significance. I don't know how much we are ready to look at this issue, because a lot of the discussions I have listened to or I've read about tend to be very superficial. Let me say three things very quickly. One, the fact that we are arguing about certificates speaks to the quality of the people we have, or lack of it, as it were, in politics. We should be able at this level to have people whose records are so very straight that you do not need to get engaged in this. There are bigger issues that should engage this country. I've tried always to make this point, that this country already has 20 million children out of formal school system. God knows the number of people that have finished school and they cannot find jobs. We have a country of 220 million people today, but in another just 7 years down the line, we're going to grow up to 300 million. In 2050, which is not too far away, we have young people. In 25 years or thereabouts, we expect this country to be well over 400 million in population, which will make it the third country after India and China. What I expect politicians to be discussing, how do you provide the infrastructure for this population? How do you provide food? How do you provide education, healthcare, jobs? Because that is what is going to make the country great. That's what's going to make the country stable. That's what's going to make the country peaceful. If you can't, you are going to go into the kind of conflict that we are beginning to see, or that we have seen for the last 1 decade or so. So the point is, it's very sad. It's a very sad commentary that our politicians are, or the kind of people that we have in politics that eventually, get into positions of power are people whose qualifications are doubted. Now that speaks a lot of volumes about the fact that of the quality of leadership we're going to get. The second point is that when it comes to, if you like, the political culture that we run has somehow accepted these things as norm. Because I would expect that the party itself should have done sufficient screening in its candidate before they even get to the point of being contesting for election.
Oh, one will also imagine that these names are submitted to INEC. Does INEC do a check?
Okay.
Does the party
I'm coming to
check
INEC.
in the first place?
I'm coming to INEC, but before they even go to INEC, they come through a political party. And a political party should have values. If they have values of integrity, then that name could not have come through.
Political parties screen their candidates. So you wonder what exactly did they do when they screened?
We do that. I was secretary of a political party, as you might remember. And we have to go through that for every election. And so it means that is the failure of the party. And then we come to INEC, which is even independent. Even if the party decides to be selfish, if that's the word to use, at least the INEC being an independent, I emphasize the independence there. They should be able to carry out a due diligence and confirm, check and recheck. And so you can see the failure of the institution at the party level, the failure of the institution at INEC level, and this speaks to our political culture. And I'm saddened that we have a political culture that literally allows this rubbish to come through. The third
so you're not
important
surprised.
point.
Just remember, before you go to the third point. So if we have a political culture that is dented and is hogwash, so you're not surprised that we are getting the kind of leadership that we get, not only at the presidential level, but also at
across the
state and the local government.
Yes. Now, the other point I want to make, we are in the 21st century. Countries are, it's 21st century is a very competitive century. And if we are going to survive and thrive as a nation, we have to compete. And the competitive age that you get, the most important is knowledge. Now, if you have a system that does not prioritize knowledge, does not prioritize integrity, how can you compete? So how can we survive as a nation? How can we thrive as a nation? Look at other countries that have made progress. In the last 30 years, or even in the last decade, if you look at the countries that have made progress, they are countries that have gotten these things right because they are basic, they are fundamental to any polity. Any polity that does not prioritize knowledge, does not have integrity, does not have institutions that are working and functioning and doing their jobs, is not going to simply survive. And we are already getting there. We are already at some kind of precipice. So because we are struggling. Look at the economy and look at what has happened to this lifting of subsidy. In principle, many of us will accept that this subsidy fraud should stop. But clearly, it has been stopped without any preparation for it. And see how people are suffering. People in this country, in fact, are not bothered about it. They're just trying to see how can they survive the next day. And from now to Christmas, we estimate that most people who are eating into their savings or selling some of their assets to survive would have finished, or you may have an asset that nobody can even buy. And we are going to face a crisis of a dimension that we have not seen before. What are the political leaders? What are the politicians, in position of government? What are they preparing? When you talk to them, honestly, they have no clue. Those that I've spoken to have no clue. And they don't even see it as a problem. So we're in a very big soup. Oh, yes.
I mean, when we wonder, and the security expert that I've spoken to had said, look, if we're not careful, the manner in which the economic state of the country is going, if the shocks are not being handled properly by the leadership of the country and at the state level, crime rates will rise, and our nation...
It has already risen. It has already risen. I mean, if you follow I know not everything gets reported, but certainly the much that we're able to see around us. And look at even the insecurity has gone high. I mean, the rate at which campuses are being invaded and female students being kidnapped, within the last 1 month, how many times have we had? So definitely things are worsening. And I expect the political leaders to come together and start, but of course, like I said, I can understand why they can't do it, because look at the failure of the institutions. In fact, like I was in a seminar not just 2 days ago, and we're discussing some of these issues. And I made the point that the political parties are actually criminal cartels.
How
basically.
Do you mean?
Oh, yeah, because a lot of the people have one crime or the other. Look at the leadership of the National Assembly. How many people are being investigated? And they are sitting right on their seat. The investigation has stopped and nobody is saying anything. How can you run a system like this and expect to succeed? You can't.
How do we get out of this? Because it looks like a whole bunch of
we have a way to get out of this.
Over.
We have a way to get out of this. The first step is to come back and set criteria for leadership. No society, takes people just like that. For every post, for every seat you're going to occupy, you must earn it. You must qualify for it. Yes, you can go for election, but you must have those credentials that qualify you for that particular office. So the choice that voters are going to make are choices between competent between competent people. The options that you have are options that are, whichever option you take, at least you have some kind of minimum guarantee. But at the moment, really, there is no criterion for leadership. The criteria that we have in the Constitution is not a criteria, it's a criteria for eligibility. Now, when you come to suitability...
A minimum standard.
That's just eligibility.
Yeah.
It just makes you eligible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make you suitable. And we have no criteria for suitability. And that's the problem.
And I guess that
Now, some of these things are not written in the Constitution.